the king in the north!
Dracarys.
I will hurt you for this.
I am the sword in the darkness.
Lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
Let me give you some advice, bastard.
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
When Rhaenyra heard of her son's death, she collapsed. She considered ending the war right then, until a raven arrived from her husband, Daemon. Her son would be avenged. Whispers slithered through the taverns and back alleys of Flea Bottom. 2 men were found. One was a former gold cloak, the other, a rat catcher in the Red Keep who knew all its secrets. History remembers them only as blood and cheese.
What is up, everybody? Jeremy Ice and Fire here, and welcome back to the channel. Over the years, A Song of Ice and Fire has given us some very memorable and, at times, some very brutal moments to remember, as House Stark can certainly attest. But George's arguably most brutal moment has still yet to be adapted on screen. I know how bad the beheading of Ned Stark was, and then, of course, the death of Robb Stark later on hit everybody, but the upcoming season of House of the Dragon is sure to shock the entire world when Blood and Cheese hits our screens. Throughout the long history of A Song of Ice and Fire, if George has proven anything at all, it's that he certainly does not hesitate from killing off beloved characters at the drop of a hat. There have been many different characters who have suffered very terrible fates over the years, but arguably none more savage than Blood and Cheese. At the end of Season 1 of House of the Dragon, we see Aemond and Vhagar kill young Lucerys and his dragon Arrax, which pretty much kicks off the war of the Dance of the Dragons. And if Lucerys' death is the catalyst that starts the war, then the Blood and Cheese event is very much the point of no return. At that point, lines are clearly drawn and only one side will live in the end. But just who exactly were Blood and Cheese, and what role will they have to play in the upcoming season of House of the Dragon? While their true identity was lost to the annals of history, they are simply referred to as Blood and Cheese. Blood was a former sergeant in the City Watch who lost his gold cloak one night for beating a woman to death in a drunken rage. He also spent a lot of time in Flea Bottom, as did Cheese. Cheese was a former rat catcher in the Red Keep, now turned assassin during the Dance of the Dragons. It is said that the hidden doors and secret tunnels that Maegor the First Targaryen had built in the Red Keep were as familiar to Cheese as the rats that he hunted. Rhaenyra was devastated after she learned of the death of her son Lucerys, and considered ending the war then and there, until she received a raven from her lord husband, Daemon Targaryen, which stated, "An eye for an eye, a son for a son. Lucerys shall be avenged." Although Daemon was no longer the leader of the City Watch, he still had a good amount of contacts left in Flea Bottom, not the least of which being Mysaria, the White Worm. According to history, it was Mysaria who contracted Blood and Cheese to enact a horrible tale of revenge. Late one night when the castle was asleep, Cheese led Blood into the Red Keep through a forgotten passageway, and after creeping through walls and hidden passageways, they eventually made their way to the Tower of the Hand, where Queen Alicent Hightower stayed. Cheese seized the Dowager Queen and proceeded to bound and gag her, while Blood killed her bedmaid. Then, the 2 assassins waited for Aegon's wife, Queen Helaena Targaryen, and her children to arrive.
One night, Queen Helaena entered the royal apartments with her daughter and 2 sons to put them to bed. Without warning, Blood and Cheese burst in, daggers in hand. They told her that a debt was owed. A son for a son. Blood and Cheese demanded she choose which son would be ripped from her forever. Queen Helaena pleaded with the men to kill her instead, but they refused. Weeping, Helaena named her younger son, Maelor. Perhaps she thought the boy was too young to understand. Or perhaps because the older boy was King Aegon's firstborn son and heir. "You hear that, little boy?" Cheese whispered to the younger son. "Your mama wants you dead." Then Blood struck off the older boy's head with a single blow. When the guards burst in, they found Queen Helaena still screaming, clasping her dead son's body to her, mad with grief. The blood of their children transformed a dynastic dispute into a war of annihilation. The grief and rage of losing a child could burn down the world. Either Aegon or Rhaenyra could live at the end, but not both.
Blood and Cheese was very much a tipping point during the Dance of the Dragons, the point of no return where both sides clearly knew that this would only end in one way, with fire and blood, not with peace. After the murders, Blood and Cheese managed to slip away out of the Red Keep undetected, and with Cheese knowing every inch of the Red Keep better than probably any man living, it's no surprise that he was never found. Blood, however, was not as lucky in the long run. Sir Luther Lodgen of the Gold Cloaks found no trace of Cheese in the city, and Aegon in his fury became so enraged at this that he had every rat catcher within the city hanged, after which Lord Hightower ordered hundreds of cats to be brought to the city to replace the rat catchers. 2 days later, Blood was seized at the Gate of the Gods attempting to leave the city with Prince Jaehaerys' head still in hand. And after 13 long days of agonizing torture, Blood eventually died, but not before naming an accomplice, in which he states he was hired by a woman matching Myssaria's description. Sir Luther Lodgen sent the Gold Cloaks out to the city to find Mysaria and Cheese, but no trace of either of them was ever found. In his fury, Aegon II wanted to attack Dragonstone directly to avenge the murder of his son, but Criston Cole had a more stealthy plan in mind in terms of sending someone into Dragonstone to infiltrate undercover, which of course leads to the tragic story of the Cargill twins. But that's a video for another time. Overall, the Blood and Cheese event was the deciding factor, the point of no return at which this was only going to end in blood. And it certainly does, as from here on out, things only continue to escalate. House of the Dragon Season 2 is shaping up to be one of the greatest seasons of television in a very long time, and I cannot wait to see all of the twists and turns that they have in store for us. Fire and Blood is very much a history manual, but there's a lot of in-between that still needs to be filled in, and I cannot wait to see what they do with. But that is going to do it for us today on this House of the Dragon Season 2 video. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. What part of House of the Dragon Season 2 are you looking forward to the most? And with a shortened season, only 8 episodes, where exactly do you think House of the Dragon Season 2 will end? As of right now, we are still looking at a summer 2024 release date for Season 2 of House of the Dragon. Could be a little bit later, could be a little bit earlier potentially. It all depends on how quick they can do post-production and reshoots. There is a Screen Actors Guild strike going on right now across all of Hollywood, but seeing as House of the Dragon is predominantly made up of UK actors, they are not subject to the same laws and regulations. So House of the Dragon will continue to shoot Season 2. And we will continue to bring you all of the latest news and updates right here, so be sure to subscribe, hit that bell for notifications to stay up to date on all of our upcoming content, as we will be covering all things A Song of Ice and Fire. And as always, I want to give a big thank you to everybody out there for watching, and we will see you on the next one.